Okay, number 5 wants us to use half angle identities. I'm just going to go ahead and recommend that you use the formulas given in the textbook. So I'm going to point those out here again. I will go ahead and do this one both ways, but the one with tangent, when you see problem, when you have to do a half angle with tangent, it's probably going to be easier to use one of the book definition as opposed to the one on the Trig cheat sheet. So here's a half angle identity. In our Trig cheat sheet, okay, they look a little bit different, but all they've done is manipulated them a little bit. With the double angles, they use some substitution and they rewrote it. Okay, but in all cases, they're really equal, but the algebra that you have to do to get the exact answers that they want on the MyMathLab will be better if you use the book formula. But I'm going to do both. Okay, I'm going to do both this first time, and then whenever I get to tangent, I'm only going to do the one from the textbook. So just look at this compared to this one. Let me see if I can put them side by side. Okay, so this sine squared is the exact same as this. They just have the 1/2 out front. They go through the process and show you what they do. They do an identity for cosine 2x, substitute. They substitute that angle, and then they do square root, and they come up with this form. So that's what they're showing you as half angle. It starts here, but they just rewrite it. And they do the same thing for the other ones, but they don't show them. Alright, so with tangent, I would recommend probably using this first one. Seems like it might be a little bit easier. These are about the same. But maybe use the first one to be better for you. And then, either way, I'm going to show you how to do the half angle with this one, and I also do it with this one. It may be easier sometimes with this angle, but when you got to simplify it, if you don't know how to go from this form to this form, it'll take a lot more work, especially when you're dealing with multiple square roots and things of that nature. So I'm going to show you both, and then I will stick with the textbook one for convenience, because that's mostly how they do it. Okay, so this problem wants us to do sine 112.5. It tells you to use the half angle identity. Okay, so I'm going to write that half angle identity down. So for sine, it was sine squared theta equals 1/2 1 minus cosine 2 theta. Let me double check that to make sure I got that written down correctly. 1/2 minus 2 theta. Okay, great. Alright, from here, I'm going to rewrite it the way that you would solve it, so if you want to use that formula. So this is really saying sine, and then the angle that they're using is 112.5, 112.5, and then this whole thing is squared, so this is how you would put it in the calculator. This whole thing is squared, and this is equal to 1 over 2, and then 1 minus cosine of 2 times theta, which is 112.5. Alright, so 112.5 is not an angle that you see on your unit circle, but when you multiply that times 2, okay, that gives us 225. So I'm just going to be working on the right side now. So 1/2, this is going to be 1 minus cosine of 225. Alright, so 225 is an angle on the trig, on the unit circle. If you look on the unit circle for 225, which I'm going to go and point you there, look on the unit circle at 225 right here. Cosine is the x-coordinate. You get a negative square root of 2 over 2. Okay, so this part right here is a negative square root of 2 over 2. I get 1 over 2, and this is 1 minus a negative square root of 2 over 2. Alright, minus a negative becomes plus. So I have 1/2, and then 1 plus square root of 2 over 2. I get a common denominator, so I'm going to rewrite this 1 as 2 over 2. So I can add those together, and this will become the 1/2 on the outside, and then I'll have 2 plus square root of 2 on the top. On the bottom, we got the common denominator is just 2. And then you multiply straight across, so you will get 2 plus square root of 2 on top over 2 times 2, which is 4. Because 1 times anything is going to be the other term. Alright, so this is what we get. However, we're not finished because this is what sine of 112.5 squared is equal to, and I want to know what this is equal to. So you have to take the square root of both sides. And the square root is basically square root of the top and square root of the bottom. Okay. So when you do the square root of this, that leaves you with sine of 112.5, and this equals, you have a square root of 2 plus square root of 2 over the square root of 4, which is just 2. Usually when you do the square root, you have a plus or minus. Okay. Did they tell us what quadrant we're in? No, so we're just going to assume positive. So you got a square root of 2 plus square root of 2 over 2. So this is the answer that you get if you use the version in the textbook. I mean the version on the cheat sheet. Alright, so I'm going to go and do the other version and see that you get the exact same thing. And then, again, I'm going to use the textbook from here on out for simplicity. Alright, so the version of this half angle identity that they give us from the textbook is this. Sine of the angle, they're doing x over 2. Here's the angle now. Equals, make sure I get all that correct. Plus or minus, so they're giving that plus or minus there. Positive or negative square root of 1 minus cosine x over 2. Okay. So this is what they give us here. Alright, so here's the difference. When they give you sine x over 2, you have to understand that the sine of 112.5, this and this are equal. So you have to solve and figure out x. So they give you sine, they give you x over 2, and they give you sine 112.5. These two things are equal. So we need to figure out what x is. So I'm going to say x over 2, that part, is equal to 112.5. Alright, and we're going to solve for x. So you just multiply by 2 on both sides. So that'll get rid of that. And then that gives us x equals 225. So that's the only difference. You got to solve and figure out that 225. So once you figure that out, that x is equal to 225, then we can do this next part. Plus or minus square root of 1 minus cosine of 225, so that's what x is, over 2. And then we'll just continue going. So this is side work, so I'm bringing this part down. We have plus or minus square root of 1 minus, and then what was the cosine of 225? It was negative square root of 2 over 2, all divided by 2. And I'm going to give each of these their own separate square root in just a moment. So on the top, you can kind of see it's looking the same. We have 1, this will be plus square root of 2 over 2, all divided by 2. And then you will get a common denominator, so right there says 2 over 2. And then I think we can do it. I think we can do it inside first. We're going to write this as square root of 2 plus square root of 2 over 2. That's this 2. And then all of that is over 2. So when I did common denominator, this part right here became 2 plus square root of 2. All this under square root over 2. And then this 2 is on the bottom. So from within, we can do keep, change, flip. Okay. So we have all of this under square root. Keep. Change. Flip. One over 2. And then multiply straight across. And 1 times anything is going to be itself. So I got big square root. So I'm just going to put square root on the top part. So all of this is 2, and then plus square root of 2. On the bottom, 2 times 2 is 4. And then when you simplify, we get square root 2 plus square root of 2. Square root of 4 is 2. This is what we get. And my positive or negative, I should have that. How do we know? Do they tell us? Oh, 125, or is the angle 225? In quadrant 3, that's how we know. That angle was 225. We're doing half of that, 225 in quadrant 3. All students take. So tangent is positive, so that means our value should be negative. Sine is negative. So the positive or negative would mean we would be negative in this case. So we're going to say negative. Unless they want us to do this function, because 125 would be here. I'm going based on the double angle. Students, it will be positive if I'm considering that one, negative if I'm doing 225. So let's go with what they give us. Positive, we're going to say we're in quadrant 2. We're going to say we're positive instead of negative. So we're going to go with positive. We're going to do square root 2 plus. And then we're going to do another square root of 2. And that is over 2. That looks weird. And that's what we get. So go based off of the angle that they give you. Wherever that angle is, that is the quadrant that you're in. And based on the quadrant that you're in, you will know if your value is positive or negative. Okay, so notice that we got the same answer both times. So both ways I did it. We got this weird looking square root within the square root. This time, the book way was more messy, but sometimes the other way is more messy. So I guess I'll just try to show you both of them, and you can kind of see, because that was a mess there.